Welcome to AnnaCos Mask tutorial version 2. This mask will work up quickly and easily, has pleats, a filter pocket, and ties, and we're gonna crank it out quick.
Here are our pieces. We have, this isn't exactly the right size, it's a little small because I ran out of fabric, but it's fine. This is 7 by 6, and then we have 9 by 6 and 9 by 6. The first step is to hem both short edges of this pocket like I am doing here. So I just chained them one after another and they get hemmed. The other side will get hemmed and then that will be that. So this will, once it's hemmed, this will go centered. This is my really trash centering. I have one hand and it's fine. And then we will put the other one on top. If you're doing a pattern, you would, this one is already sewn together, but it's fine. You would put down your first piece of fabric. This would be pattern side up. The pocket would go pattern side up. And then the back piece, which will actually be the front of the mask, goes pattern side down. So we have pattern, pattern facing each other. I hope that makes sense. Basically, we want our right sides together, and after that is done, we sew these two seams here. Okay, we've got our two seams sewed, zoop and zoop. The next step is to turn it right side out. So we're going to open, so instead of opening here so the pocket is backwards, we want to open so the pocket is touching the side that matches its pattern. So I'm going to do that awkwardly. Okay. Here we are. And you're going to give that a nice press so it's nice and flat. The next step will be making a tube for the wire and top stitching the bottom down. So we're going to take a seam allowance that's exactly 1/8 of an inch. That way we have a nice narrow casing for the wire to slide into, so the wire won't be wiggling around and doing whatever it wants. It needs to be in a nice small case. Anything smaller than 1/8 of an inch, it's going to be too hard to slip the wire through. Anything bigger than 1/8 of an inch, the wire has a little more wiggle room. So if 1/8 of an inch is too hard to get right, do 1/4 of an inch, and that's fine. The wire will have a little bit more wiggle room and might get a little kinked, but it's not the end of the world. So we're gonna sew and sew to create that tube and to create a top stitch on the bottom so the mask can't get squished like this in the wash. And you know, if we mess up this wire tube, we could always just put the wire down here instead and no one would know. Okay, so we've got that seam sewn. We can stick the wire in there. You just fold over the edges of the wire, slide it in, it's happy, it's good. Let's move on to...
All right, so here we've got our handy dandy pleat template, which is like a piece of manila folder where it has every inch, half inch, inch, half inch, inch, half inch, inch, and it's folded like pleats. So what it's gonna do is just act as a template. So I sandwich my two sides between the pleat template and I make sure the pleat template is matching and it's not backwards, like that would be very difficult to fold. So we want the folds of the pleat template to be facing the same way, and then we're gonna get it nice and even with the top of the mask, and then just use the pleat template to help you fold. So place it flat and then fold, fold, stop it. Gotta make sure the pleat template stays lined up, fold. And that is that. And then what I do is I just take the whole thing, pleat template still in it, and I run it through the machine like this. You want your bottom seam to be sort of even. You don't want it crooked, so get it even as possible, and then just run it through the machine so the folds are sewed down.
Though the folds are sewed down on both sides, I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This edge is still raw, but that's okay because we're going to encase it in whatever we're using as our tie. So we're gonna use bias tape or twill tape, and we're gonna fold it in half lengthwise to make one long, skinny hot dog bun. And we're gonna stick the edge of the mask into the hot dog bun, so, and pin it in place. So I'll show you.
Here's my string of bias tape. It doesn't match, but it's fine. Protection, not perfection. And so I'm gonna take the bias tape, I'm gonna fold it so the raw edges are on the inside. I mean, if you're using twill tape, you don't have to worry about this. There are no raw edges. Oh, I should find the center. So find the center of your strap. This is 36 inches or 1 yard, and that's the appropriate length. So find the center, fold it in half, stick the raw edge of the mask in there, and encase it. So now that raw edge is covered, and pin it in place. I will show you a closer look of this when it's done. That way you can actually see what I'm doing instead of me just fumbling with things. Okay, there we go. So like I said, we have the twill tape folded around the raw edge so it's on both sides. And we have it pinned into place, 1 pin on each side. And I'll pull out the pins when I get close to sewing this part of the mask itself. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take the end, which has a raw edge, so we don't want that, and I'm gonna make a little triangle like I'm folding a paper airplane. So there's my triangle. Then fold the triangle down. So there it is. And then fold it in half lengthwise, and then we'll sew it like this all the way down. So the 2 layers of the bias tape together.
Hooray! We have one tie attached. As you can see, I sewed it on. It looks a little messy, but that's fine. Protection, not perfection. It's also sewed on the other side, so you want to be sure you catch both sides of the bias tape or twill tape, whatever you're using, and you don't accidentally like sew through on this side, but like miss it entirely on this side and just sew the mask and it's left flopping around. But fortunately, I caught it on both sides. And it's okay to go nice and slow on the actual mask part. And the rest, you can see I did the ends with the end folded in, and then just sewed it in half lengthwise so it would make a nice tie. Okay, here is my wire. It's going to slide into this little casing on the top. On the filter side, we want all the pleats facing up. And on the front side of the mask, the pleats should be facing, look over here at this edge, not on that messy side. Pleats should be facing down. So pleats facing up on this side, pleats facing down on that side. Okay, so I'm just gonna slide the wire in here, and I'm gonna do that off camera because there's no way I can do it with one hand. The wire is in the case. Very good. It's bendy. It will stay. It will conform to the nose. We're happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew right here and right here just to seal that wire in so it can't come out in the wash. And you're gonna sew back and forth a few times. So stitch, back stitch, stitch, back stitch. We've got our edges tacked down. That wire is going nowhere and our mask is complete. Yay!